Hi, my name is Rich. Welcome to my 9.4.4 home theater. So I've been into audio my whole life. Started when I was probably high school age. My friends, we'd always go to the mall, check out the stores, the theaters and everything. Not the theaters, the stores had all the home theater gear and everything. And we'd always play around with the stuff and kind of dream of, what it would be like if we could own all that. And it just kind of progressed from there. We were kids, we couldn't afford anything, so we would just kind of wear out our welcome in the stores. Eventually we get to the point where we can afford some components, and first component we bought was a subwoofer. Subwoofer, powered subwoofer. We didn't even have anything to hook it up to really other than my home computer, and so we ended up hooking it up to that, got carried away with it. Fast forward, natural progression, we get our driver's license, we get into cars, start doing car audio, doing systems and beaters that we were driving, and from there start to grow up a little bit. Ultimately, I become an adult. I buy a home. I put a 5.1 system in my home, but it kind of stops there because I don't have a lot of room to grow within the house. It was a very small house. We had, kind of a universal living room, dining room, everything room. So there wasn't a whole lot of space for us to grow into anything. I'm saying us, but it was me. So I kind of put a pause in my home theater journey at that point for the next couple decades, actually. And then a few years ago, moved into the current house that I'm in now, and this house had a basement. Well, back in my head, I've always wanted to have my own home theater. It's always been a, back of the mind kind of dream. So we get this place, and I come down, and, I see that there's a basement here. I tell my wife, baby, I want to build a home theater. So she's like, rolls her eyes or whatnot, but, she's okay with it. And so, that's when I kind of restarted my, passion in the hobby, so to speak. And had to kind of quickly catch up to everything that I missed out on for the last couple decades, which is a lot. So what you're seeing here is pretty much a rapid progression of the last 3 years of living here. First thing I did was I got on Marketplace and just looked for someone selling a whole setup for what I thought was a deal. And I started with that, and very quickly wanted to evolve out of that, and wanted to go more and bigger and louder and cleaner and the whole 9 yards. And so at that point, I basically became glued to Marketplace, constantly looking for upgrades. Now I'm watching videos on YouTube, as most people do. You end up coming across Youthman and his videos, and it's just snowball effect from there. You just start to learn more, you get deeper into it, learn more about brands, how to properly set up, systems and theaters and whatnot. And it just kind of snowballed into what we have here, 3 years later. How do I feel when I sit down and watch a movie? Excited, simply put. So I know that when I view that movie, I'm going to get an experience that's not like an experience that anybody else is going to get in a commercial cinema, and unless they're someone that's in the hobby like I am, right? I know that I'm going to hear and see everything the way that the director and the editors intended. Probably more so, actually, knowing what systems we're getting into here. But yeah. So a few of the demo clips that I play for friends and family when they come over are Ready Player One, the race, the first race. That's always, you can't go wrong with that, right? Top Gun Maverick, the test run, the 215. That's always a crowd pleaser. For friends they're more on the musical side, I'll play like The Greatest Showman intro clip from that, because that kind of is full spectrum. You'll get bass and you'll get music and clears and highs and everything with that as well. And honestly, I'll play the Dolby Amaze demo clip, because that pretty much covers just about every aspect of your home theater, from the highs to the bass to the ATMOS to all the effects and everything. So the most challenging part about building this theater was probably the room acoustics. It's, we're in a basement. It's a full tile floor down here on concrete. It's a 7-foot ceiling. Everything is drywalled, and it's a partially open room. I can't close it off. I can't necessarily pressurize this theater without trying to pressurize my entire basement. So I started doing research, and by research I mean watching YouTube videos on how you're supposed to do room treatments, and I talked to some of the people at Geek Acoustic. They gave me some pointers, some guidelines. You watch some more videos. Ultimately, I bought a bunch of acoustic panels and placed them where I thought would be conducive for the area. Put carpeting down, do the clap test and everything to try and deaden the sound and the reflections. And when it was all said and done, that was probably the most noteworthy improvement in my home theater experience throughout the entire process was room treatment. When I host movie night, I just want everyone to be relaxed, feel comfortable, feel welcome, and just share the enjoyment that I get out of being able to share this hobby with everyone. So some of the most noteworthy moments that I've been able to share with my family would be watching older movies that my wife used to watch when she was a kid, or movies that we previously had to watch on small televisions, earlier in our lives, that we were not able to actually view in this capacity. And to see the look on my wife's face or my daughter's face when they get to experience it in such a grand scale, that's probably some of the most fun memories that we've had here. So if I were to give advice to someone that wants to enter into the hobby, first I would say take your time, connect with people that have done this or that are deep into the hobby, educate yourself, watch videos, talk to people that have done this, get firsthand feedback from them on what their do's and don'ts. I would say that your room treatment is probably going to be one of the most important aspects of your theater and its performance, more so than equipment upgrades or anything of that nature, at least from the audio aspect. Don't ever get discouraged because someone perceivably has better system or better equipment than you. Don't rush. Don't try and race to the finish. A lot of people that you'll talk to in this hobby will say the same thing, but it really is about the journey. It's how you get to where you ultimately end up being at. That's where you're making all your memories. That's where you're educating yourself the most. And honestly, that's where all the fun is. Beyond just being a space to watch movies, this home theater, to me, represents an achievement of childhood dreams and aspirations. Yeah, to me, it represents being able to achieve what I dreamed of doing way back when myself and my friends were just kids, hanging out, wearing out our welcome in home theater stores in the mall, getting yelled at for turning equipment up too much or too loud, causing a ruckus or whatever. This is, I'm finally able to do everything that I dreamed of doing back then. I've finally been able to achieve that, and I can kind of rest on that accomplishment. Going to the movies versus watching a movie in my home theater. There's really no comparison. I'm more comfortable here. You get a better experience here. You can pause movies. Commercial cinemas are great, right? Because there's a nostalgia effect or factor, but if you really want to experience the movie without outside interference or distractions, you can't top this. If I could go back in time and start from scratch, knowing what I know now, I would probably have spent more time working the design of the room and the foundation of the layout on the front end before I just started throwing equipment and gear in it. What is the audio experience like? I would say powerful. 2, 1. But not overbearing. Loud, but not abrasive. And it'll put a smile on your face. Yeah, when I sit down to watch a video, it is incredibly immersive. The black levels are so deep that the contrast that you're going to have with the screen, your colors, you might as well be sitting in a commercial theater, to be honest, as far as the video aspect of it, just with a much better picture quality.
Welcome to the first installment of Epic Home Theater Tours. I'm your host, Hatoraid Cowboy, and I am not in Texas anymore. I'm actually in Chicago filming 8 home theater tours. Got a lot of exciting JTR home theater tours for you guys. I know you guys love your JTR. And right now I'm in Rich's home theater. He's got an amazing JTR home theater. Awesome sound, awesome picture, seating, acoustics, everything. So Rich, it's nice to meet you, man.
Hey, thanks for coming.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. So, yeah, we're going to talk about your setup a little bit. We're going to talk about your gear. We're going to talk about, your rack, all the stuff that you have. But first, I want to just kind of talk about a little bit, which you mentioned a little bit in the video, in the beginning of the video, your home theater journey. So we were talking off screen and you were saying that, you've worked hard to get to where you're at right now from, kid, young adult, you had this vision and now the vision has come to fruition. So tell us a little bit about that path. How did you become a home theater enthusiast? What sparked that?
Well, kind of like we were talking about earlier, it was, going into home theater stores as a kid, seeing the setups they have there. They have their special rooms and everything where they would, showcase, Dolby back when it was Prologic, or just Dolby Surround, and you get your first taste then, and I don't know, it just kind of when home theater is a thing. Like once it gets a hook in you,
Yeah,
you're not getting off.
and
You
it's
can
not
fight
cheap.
all you want. You can fight all you want, but you're not going anywhere, buddy. And so as time goes on and life happens, you kind of start to progress into it. In my case, life happened a little bit quicker for me maybe than some people, so I had to put a pin in my journey for quite some time. As a matter of fact, decades. And I had to focus on other things. But that seed remained, right? That seed that that passion. It's just you gotta. It just stayed, and then and then as things went on with my life and I found myself in a position where I could kind of re-engage the hobby, I did so. And because I had lost so much time, I had to do so. Well, I didn't have to, but I just did so in a rapid fashion. So I rapidly made up for lost decades.
Nice. So you mentioned before you were in another house, a smaller house, right? Very much smaller than what you have now here.
Significantly.
Did you have a system there, or beginnings?
I did. I did. It was super basic. So the house that I came from before this was a whopping 900 square feet.
Wow.
And there was, we didn't have living room, dining room, rec room. We had room. And so that room was everything. And that was the TV. That was where we ate. That was where we, relaxed, lounged, had family time, everything. And so, I mean, I had a very simple 5.1 system in there that was it was decades old by the time that we left. And that's pretty much the pin. That was the placeholder for my, passion for the hobby. Is like, that's okay. Well, this is where we're gonna pause, and someday maybe we'll come back to it.
Okay. So you move out of that house, 900 square foot. You move into this house, and it's got a basement. Tell me what your first thought is when you see this. You've got a basement. I've got so much room to play with now.
My first thought was, how do I tell my wife I want to build a home theater?
That's always the first thing, right?
Yeah. No, she's a great sport. She's always been supportive of me. Doesn't always agree, but she's a trooper. But yeah, as soon as I saw available space, I'm like, I'm dedicating it for this sole purpose of something that I've always wanted to do, and that was to have a dedicated home theater to experience in my own home.
Cool. Well, you definitely did a great job. We went through some demos. Awesome setup. Bass is nice, clean, tight, powerful, efficient. It's not, we were talking about this earlier, of course, with JTR, it's not fatiguing. We were listening around reference for a couple of other demos and maybe a little bit below that, but everything sounds amazing. I know you mentioned you have 7-foot ceilings, which is, not typically ideal for Atmos, but the immersiveness and the way that it sounds, the bubble, you would never have known. If you close your eyes, you won't know that it's 7 feet. So you did a good job.
Thank
But Tell me a little bit about the room. I know this is kind of like an open concept in the back, but what's the actual, if you know it, what's the actual dimensions of the room as far as, width? We know it's 7 feet high.
Mhm.
What's the width? What's the depth?
If memory serves me correct, it's roughly 13 and a half to 14 feet wide
I'm
and
jealous.
about 15 to 16 feet long.
Okay. So pretty good. So about a kind of like a rectangle,
Yeah,
rectangle-ish.
slightly, yeah.
So pretty good. Okay. So you got a nice space. You've got this area. How long did it take you to actually like just completely build it out to where it is right now from the time of moving in to today or to the
Um,
time when you got it finished?
so I would say probably 3 years at this point.
3 years? Okay.
Yeah, I'd say about 3 years, and through that I've probably been through 3 or 4 different speakers, at least for the main channel, front stage, sound stage. Um, Been through several different subwoofers from just marketplace purchases to some DIY stuff to ultimately landing on what most people would consider their forever subwoofer, the JTRs.
So what was the deciding factor? Had you heard JTR before? What made you decide, okay, I want to go with JTR? And I know you're still, you've got some side surrounds that are different, but you said you want to, eventually upgrade to JTR. What made you want to go with JTR?
So I would say a lot of it came from the videos I was watching. A lot of YouTube research went into this. Watched a lot of videos. I had heard great things. I'd never had firsthand experience until I had went to a get together at a friend of mine, Scott Newby's place. And if you're watching this, you're probably familiar with Scott Newby.
He's also sitting off screen. So.
He's right back there making gestures at me. Uh, so I mean, he has next level over the top end game subwoofer setup in his theater, and anybody can throw a bunch of speakers in a room and make things shake and make your casual person say wow. But it's really something to experience a system like his where it's not just brute strength. It's so controlled, so focused, so defined. It's not, I mean, it can be overpowering, but it can also be subtle. And once you hear something like that, and in a capacity where you can throw the kitchen sink at it and you don't ever have to worry about it overheating, smoking an amp, blowing out a driver, like, I mean, there's really not much more to, like, there's nowhere to go from that. That's about as good as it gets. So after hearing that, I knew, like, oh, this is it for me. I just now it's just got to execute it and find some. And as luck would have it, I just, being that I was always on marketplace and looking for deals, I happened to find someone that was selling one subwoofer, just a single one, and along with the left, center, and right channel that I have now. And so I struck up a deal, purchased those. I immediately put it into my system, and I actually just replaced one of my existing subwoofers with the single 18 ULF 2400. And just by replacing one of, at the time I still had 4 subwoofers, just not all JTRs. I put one JTR subwoofer in there and played back a track, or a movie clip rather, and immediately, like, was blown away. Like, there's no way just a simple swap put that much more depth to my system. And at that point I'm like, oh, well, now I gotta do everything.
Yeah, so like we talked about before, you're never done. You're always upgrading, and yeah, it's not a cheap hobby that we're into here.
No, it's not. No, it's not. But you know, it's all relative, right? You know, it's however you want to value it, but you know, as long as you're getting your money's worth of enjoyment out of it, who's to say you're wrong?
Definitely. All right, so let's get into your equipment, your gear. Why don't I have you talk a little bit about your what you're using for your front stage, your surrounds, and then your height channels.
My left, center, right speakers are the JTR 210 reference series. I chose these speakers after owning several other different manufacturers. I chose these speakers because of their incredible power handling capabilities, their wide dynamic range, and incredible clarity. Okay, so I'm utilizing 4 JTR subwoofers. The cabinet design varies depending on where the placement is within my room. Up in the front, I have the tall versions with dual 18-inch drivers. At the rear of my theater, I have the sofa table version with dual 18-inch drivers. And in the far corner, I have the ULF 2400 with a single 18-inch driver. So currently for my wides and my side surrounds, I'm using KLIPSCH bookshelf speakers. Ultimately, I would like to progress to transitioning all those to JTR down the line. But for the most part, like most of my theater has been Youthman deals. In the early phases of building my theater, I chose the KLIPSCH speakers because I liked the sound of the highs, the brights with the horn drivers in them. So for my height channels, I have the JTR 110 slants. Prior to these speakers, I was using in-ceiling speakers, and that I felt were very lackluster. When I purchased these, I knew I was going to have to sacrifice some clearance because I do have a low ceiling in my basement. I had originally chose in-ceiling speakers due to low ceiling clearance and not wanting to encroach into my theater space any more than I had to. But I quickly realized that the sound quality I was able to get out of ceiling speakers was subpar. So I ultimately chose to sacrifice some of my clearance in return for a much better imaging experience with the JTRs. The 110 slant JTR speakers allowed me to place things in areas that did not affect foot traffic or anything of that nature, and the sound quality compared to the in-ceiling speakers is a night and day difference. It completely changed the experience of the room.
Okay, so we talked about your LCR, and I know your center channel is basically the same speaker, but it's horizontal, right? And you've got that angled up a little bit so that it's hitting the main listening position.
Mm-hmm.
So your front row is going to be your main listening position, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we talked about the LCR, we talked about your surrounds and the height channels. Why don't you tell me what you're doing for acoustics in here?
Okay. So all my acoustic treatment is a company called GIK Acoustics. Pretty well known within the industry. So it's all off the shelf, so to speak, acoustic panels. I placed them around the room where I had the space and where I felt would give me best results. Not a whole lot of science went into it, to be quite honest, but it got the job done. So I tried to hit all the first reflection points and everything like that. Like the stuff that I learned from doing my research, and that's about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you did a good job. It sounds really good in here. Like I said, it's kind of open in the back, but the acoustics is really good in here. Now, one thing I did notice that you did when I was looking at is, a lot of people have done, and I've done some of it as well. You did it looks like you got some black velvet across the front and some of the sides. Why don't you tell me about why you did that? And what was the before and after when you before you had that? I don't know if you've always had that there, but tell me about the contrast, about how that
Yeah,
helped.
so the black velvet went up. First of all, no, it hasn't always been there.
Okay.
Again, this, it's a journey, right? You learn as you go. So it started with just the projector on a white wall, and again, after seeing some other theaters and seeing how much more immersive the viewing experience was when not just the front stage, but the entire room was blacked out. I decided that, well, I'm not ready to paint yet, but at least let me do a backdrop. So I did a black velvet backdrop, and immediately, even my wife. That's where you did it right. When your wife is like, yeah, I gotta say that's a lot better.
High praises.
Yeah, when you get that stamp of approval, but immediately, like this just the contrast, right? Your contrast goes through the roof. Your perception, and it's more perception than anything, but your perceived contrast of everything. Your colors seem more vibrant. The dark scenes are that much darker. You can actually make out shadows better. Everything, it does wonders for your perceived contrast.
Yeah, and what I noticed is most people have, they black out their theater. You didn't do that. So tell me why you decided not to black out the theater. What kind of color scheme were you thinking about, down here? Did you want it not have it so dark? But
Well, as we talked about, it's still a work in progress, and it's still
okay,
a journey. Ultimately, I would like to black out the entire theater, just so that's all there is the screen,
right.
and when the lights go down, that's all there is. But it's a work in progress. It's a continual journey.
Never ending.
So that's on the bucket list. That's still coming up. It's still coming up. Before too much longer, this room will be blacked out.
Well, it still looks phenomenal. Like I told you when we were watching the demos, I was like, man, this looks incredible. So why don't we talk about that a little bit? Why don't we talk about video? What projector screen are you using behind us here?
So it's a very simple, budget-friendly screen. It's a silver ticket screen, non-acoustically transparent. Just a out of the box 110-inch silver ticket screen. I think the screen gain is something like a 1.1.
Yeah, I have the exact same screen, but in a 100-inch.
Okay.
So
So I mean, it served its purpose. I At this point, I don't see a need to upgrade as of current, but you know, it's always an evolving process.
so 110-inch.
110 inch, yeah.
110-inch silver ticket screen. You've got the black velvet bezel around there. What are you pairing it with? What projector are you using with it?
So my projector is a JVC NX7. It has been calibrated. Other than that, there's no video enhancement software or anything like that. It's aside from calibration, it's as out of the box as it comes.
And you're using the tone mapping that
Built in.
JVC built-in
Yeah,
JVC.
built in.
Pristine picture, man. I mean, I was sitting on the front row. What would you say the distance from the screen to your eyes are in the front row?
It's about 9 feet, give
9
or
feet.
take.
It looked awesome. I mean, the detail, the contrast, and there's just the sharpness. I mean, it's a JVC, and then with the black levels, you've got this, the front wall blacked out. It looked pristine, so it's doing a good job. And the model again is the
NX7.
NX7. Now, is
So
that the laser or the bulb?
no, it's a bulb.
That's
It's
a
it's
bulb.
yeah, it's an older model.
Okay.
But it's kind of a workhorse. I mean, it's
Oh
it's
yeah.
the if I had a larger screen or a larger room, maybe I could make a better case for going to the laser to get the some more brightness out of it or whatever. But for this, the size of the room, the size of the screen, and the fact that I'm able to control my ambient lighting pretty well, the value of this projector is hard to beat.
Okay. Now, was that a youth man deal, as they say, or was this something that you purchased new?
Like most of my system, yes, it was a youth man deal. I just scouring marketplace looking for the deals. I mean, people ask, like, that's a big part of how I'm able to do what I've been able to do here is just sniffing out those deals and being in the right place at the right time,
Yeah.
to capitalize on it.
Yeah, and we we see a lot of comments. Oh, people, they have these home theaters. Oh, you must be rich. You must be a millionaire. A lot of these people, guys, they're shopping online. They're buying used, and that's one thing I appreciate about the home theater community is you can find really good products that are used, but a lot of those things, they last a long time if the person prior, kept up with it. I mean, you've got amplifiers, receivers, processors that you could buy that are, it may not be new, but it still works great. And you save some money, and then you can put that money somewhere else if you want to buy, some nicer seats, if you want to do, upgrade your speakers over time, or if you just want to save up your money and, upgrade to something later, you can still find deals. You just have to look for them, like you said.
Absolutely.
So what do you use? Like Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, what?
Mostly Marketplace, maybe a small bit from like Discord, forums and whatnot, but I would say most of it was like Facebook Marketplace.
Okay. Okay. Why don't we talk about what's driving everything? So I noticed do you have an in-wall rack over there, or is it just like a rack that you've got pushed
No,
back?
it's just a rack that's pushed back into a closet space.
Okay.
So yeah, it's freestanding. It's on casters, so I can wheel it out if I need to get access to something, change anything, check a cable, whatever the case may be.
So what are you doing? What's driving? What's the receiver or processor that you're using?
So my processor is an Anthem AVM70, and then every speaker is amplified via a EMOTIVA amplifiers.
Okay.
So I have the Gen 3 XPA amps running all my bed layer, and then I have a BASX amp running the ATMOS channels.
Okay. Are you doing XLR on the XPA Gen 3, or are you doing everything RCA?
Everything is XLR except for the BASX because it does not have.
Right. I have pretty much the same setup before. Yeah.
So it's RCA for the height channels, but everything else is XLR controlled or routed.
All right. So processor, amplifiers. What are you using for content?
So for content, if it's streaming, it's usually going through the Shield, NIVIDIA Shield. I also have an Apple TV, so depending on, bounce back and forth. And then for all my movie content and everything like that, I actually had my brother-in-law built me a home theater PC, and then I just took all my physical media and ripped it to the home theater PC. So it's always accessible and in full resolution, full quality.
So about how many movies would you say that you have?
Not as many as some other people I know. I would say I'm somewhere maybe in the 80 to 100 movie range.
So you're still low enough to where it doesn't take you a lot of time to rip your disc, because for people that are getting started and you've got hundreds of discs, it's going to take a while. It's going to take some months to rip everything.
No doubt.
So, but it's one of the best ways I found. When I started doing it years ago, I was doing the same thing. I had a home theater PC, and I started off doing a home theater PC straight to my receiver and my TV, trying to go through Windows, and the experience was just a nightmare. And that's what made me started to look into, like, man, is there a way to get my movies, my physical disc on digital? And then I found out about Plex. So I was using Plex, and then I was like, this is still not working with Windows. And then I found out about the NVIDIA Shield, and once I found out about that, I'm like, oh, I can use that as a Plex client. I have everything on my computer. And from there, it just opened up a whole new world. I probably had about 150 movies at the time. Took me a while, but once I did it, I was like, I'm never going back to discs. The only reason I have the disc is basically as a backup. If something happens to my hard drive, I can pop it in, rip it, and it sits there. The disc doesn't get messed up. I don't have to worry about my laser going out on my Blu-ray player. It's great.
No doubt. It beats having to get up and change out discs every time, and especially in a situation like where you're trying to demo and do reels
Yes.
and whatnot. Good luck doing that with a disc.
Wait, hold on. Let me take the
Yeah,
disc out.
you're
And
gonna
put it
lose
in.
your audience
Yeah.
pretty quick.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got your AVM 70, you've got EMOTIVA amplifiers, you've got your Apple TV, NVIDIA Shield, you're using an HTPC. What else you have in your rack?
Uh, Game systems, PlayStation's in there, the Xbox is in there. Those get used on occasion. Um, there is a DVD player in there as well. Panasonic 820, I want to say. The model escapes me, but
Okay.
it's the popular one that most people are using. Power conditioner, some support, just supporting items. I got a Wi-Fi hub in there and stuff like that. That's about it, I think.
Okay. And then you've got hardwood floors, but I see you've got some nice big carpets to kind of help with that, reflections and like you said, you this is tile.
Tile, yeah.
Okay.
Looks like
Yeah,
hardwood.
it looks
Got you
like
fooled.
wood, but yeah, it
Yeah,
does
no,
good job.
it's tile floors. Again, I mean that was what was here when we moved in, right? So I wasn't about to change floors.
Yeah.
So it's tile floors. I mean anybody that has ever tried this in a hard, hard floor room with no treatment. I mean, it was an echo chamber in here.
Yeah.
So, first order of business was let's get some carpet on the floor. So I put some rugs down. It was simple. If they get damaged or, too dirty or something like that, it's an easy replace. So put some rugs in here. Got the couches. I actually started with a single couch. Again, it's a journey, right? Started with a single couch and then built, knowing that I wanted to do a second row of seating, just built a very simple makeshift riser. Lo and behold, again, these, youth man deals. He's going to want some licensing rights on this. I know it.
Yeah. He's going to get some royalties.
Yeah, or some royalties, yeah. But as luck would have it, we found the exact same couch,
Wow.
different seller, and
awesome.
went and struck up a deal, and so now I actually have two of the exact same couches in here, and one up on a riser that I built. So yeah, it just things just kind of lined up for me on that one.
Yeah. So how tall is your riser?
I think it is. I want to say it's 10-inch riser, if I'm not mistaken. 10 or 12, but I want to say it's 10.
Okay. And now one thing I did want to say is, so you've got 4 subs, right? You've got 2 subs up in the front. You've got one in the corner, and you've got one that's basically acting as a near field.
Yep.
So for the demos, I was sitting on the front row, awesome bass, but we kind of rotated and got set back in that back row, and you talk about a full body massage that just vibrates your entire body. You would think that you had Crosons or some type of bass shakers in there. Mm-hmm. Tell me about the experience when you sit back there.
It'll rock you. It'll rock you. So that wasn't by design, actually. It was just, that's the only other place I had to put a subwoofer in here, and lo and behold, that's just how it worked out. But it fires right into the back of the riser and the couch that's back there. It acts as, like a Croson or a tactile transducer. It can be a little overbearing depending on the movie that you're watching, but I will say that if you're watching a movie that has jump scares in it,
oh man, I can only imagine.
Just get ready. Just get ready, because it will jump scare the heck out of you.
Cool. So is it just you that's down here most of the time? Does your family, your kids ever come down here and watch, movies with you?
Primarily, it's myself.
It's a lonely hobby sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it can be a lonely hobby. Because I mean, no one's going to be as enthusiastic about your hobby as you are, right? But no, I mean, the family will get engaged. We'll have a movie night and everything like that as often as is possible. As kids grow up, they're less engaged sometimes, or less enthusiastic about some of the stuff that that we all used to be, so gung-ho about. But still, every so often we'll get together as a group and we'll watch something and enjoy it.
That's awesome. Well, before we close out, is there any encouragement that you would give to somebody who's watching this video and is thinking, man, I'll never be able to have my own home theater, a dedicated space, JTR, in-game speakers, whatever that may be? What would you say to encourage someone coming from, like you said before, where this was something that you dreamed about and now it's come to fruition?
If it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. No, I mean, don't get discouraged. It's, I think we've already said this several times, but probably the most enjoyable aspect of this hobby is the journey along the way, right? And how you progress through it. Even people that have, multi six-figure systems or just, absurd home theater setups, even they probably still have aspects that they want to. I wish I could do that a little bit better, but it never ends, honestly. And I would just say, just stay the course and just enjoy it. Enjoy what you have. Enjoy what you have for what it is. Become part of groups. Look up other people that are into this and share your experiences. Share the hobby with them. I mean, people that have more expensive gear than you, ultimately they're going to want to upgrade, and they're going to want to sell that gear to pay for the upgrades, right? If you're in the right place at the right time, you can get some of those deals. That's how I've been able to do the majority of what I've done here.
Awesome. Well, again, man, you did a great job. Awesome home theater. Love the demos, love the experience, and I appreciate you, letting me into your home and being able to document this and show this to the world. And I know everybody watching it, they love the JTR systems, but they love stories like this where, like you said, you enjoy the journey. It's not just about people that are rich that have home theaters or people that have a lot of money, but, being able to enjoy the journey, doing a lot of this stuff yourself, DIY. And I almost forgot you also have some lighting in here, right? You've got some lighting that's going along the wall. What are you using over there?
They're just Govee, like the Govee light strips. But I can't remember what the model is. It's the ones where you can program different settings, and you can do like the color sweeps and whatnot, just to add some little ambiance to the room and everything like that.
Cool. Well, yeah, guys, let us know what you think of Rich's home theater. Let us know down in the comments if you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit like and subscribe and like the video and share it with your friends. We got 7 more of these and a bonus video. So it's going to be a busy weekend. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the video, the rest of the series, Epic Home Theater Tours. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.